Hi
You're
all,
sharing?
welcome back. Welcome back. We'll start our next session with Pune chapter, which is on what does it take to transform into a product-centric IT organization by Raja Bhavani. I would like to call upon Prashant Gulwadi, who will be facilitating this session.
Do I start?
Yeah.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Prashant Gulwadi, and I'm a volunteer in the Agile Network India community, representing the Pune chapter. We are happy and excited to organize today's session on what does it take to transform into a product-centric IT organization. Product-centric organization structures and models are no longer the sole preserve of product companies. Progressive CIOs want their IT organizations to shift from a program-centric to a product-centric mindset. What is driving this mind shift? How can we meet the aspirations of CIOs seeking to become product centric? To talk on this, we have with us today an eminent senior from the IT industry, Raja Bhavani, to present his approach to building a product centric IT organization. Raja is Associate Vice President, Cognizant Technology Solutions. He leads delivery transformations to adopt and mature the modern engineering practices and ways of working in order to help clients achieve tangible business outcomes, a very key point to be taken note of. As lead for market solutions, business development, analyst relations, digital engineering practice, Raja has contributed to defining and launching service offerings, business development, and building strong relationships with industry analysts. I thank Raja on behalf of the chapter and committee for supporting our knowledge sharing initiative to his participation in today's session. We'll welcome you, Raja, and invite you to commence your presentation. Over to you, Raja.
Thank you, Prashant. I first start with thanking the organizers for inviting me to deliver this session, and thanks to all of you for spending time on a Saturday and attending this conference, which spans across multiple days. Very good. I appreciate your interest on the topic and the hunger for learning. This session is something very close to my heart because what we are seeing is, you can move on to the next slide. So what we are seeing in the industry is more and more CIOs, or next slide. They are very curious about how to behave as good as a product engineering company and bring products into the market with the high level of agility and high quality to delight their end customers. So moving on to the next slide, let's have a quick look at what we have in store for today. We have a very crisp agenda where we are going to first come to terms with what is happening in the industry and what is product centricity. And also we look at two interesting concepts. One is the transformation we have seen in the consumption landscape of IT applications in typical IT businesses, and also the kind of transformation we have seen in the engineering landscape of IT applications. We'll go through that and then consolidate and look at the key factors of product centricity, right? What do we mean by product centricity, and what are the key factors that we have to put together? And then take you through the journey of what does it take to transform into a product centric IT organization. I will be interleaving some real life experiences or what is happening in the industry, right? What customers are doing, etc. Let us start with the next slide, where the premise is that yes, it is product centricity is required at least for two things. One is to gain competitive edge, embracing the new possibilities delivered by digital technologies that all of you must be hearing in your organizations. And beyond that, to create unparalleled end user experience through compelling digital products and services and deliver true customer value. So these things cannot be done with the traditional mindset or traditional software development lifecycle or traditional organizational structure. So that is where why product centricity is, right? Why do we need it? So very, very short and crisp statements for you to internalize. Let's move on to the next slide, where I wanted to present you about an industry survey that was done by Gartner a couple of years ago. They went to some of the top CIOs and asked this question. It only one question: what are your organization's plans for using product-centric model for software delivery? So these are the CXOs of typical large businesses, banks, insurance companies, and retail firms, and healthcare, and life sciences, and manufacturing firms, and so on. And they gave these options: fully adopt within next 3 years, next 3 to 5 years, or more than 5 years. Also, they gave options such as no timeline, but we have a plan for partial adoption. And finally, no plan to adapt, right? They also wanted to know if there are CIOs who do not have a plan to adapt. And the survey results were very interesting. If you go to the next slide, this survey found that 85% of the respondents have either adopted or plan to adopt a product-centric delivery model in their IT organization. So this is a proof that the industry is moving in that direction. And there is a link in the slide which points to the survey itself, and you will get more to read about it. With that note, moving on, we need to understand a critical thing, that this is not something which we can ignore. This has already come on our way, and many customers are asking for it. And we need to get ready. We need to either we must be already doing it in many organizations, or we are doing it in bits and pieces in some projects, and we need to take a holistic approach of driving and delivering this promise. How can we do that, right? Next slide, please. And so before moving on, now you may have several questions. What do we mean by product centricity in IT organization? So what it is about embracing a cultural shift and adopting product mindset. So whenever we say cultural shift, it is not just celebrating and having cool work atmosphere and smiling at each other and collaborating and all that. It also brings in the cultural shift in the way we do software engineering mindset, becoming product centric in the way we adopt and follow tools and technologies and techniques to build software. And the second one, becoming customer centric and designer. Understand what the customer wants and understand the big picture, and understand designs, participate instead of taking somebody's design and implementing it. So having a holistic approach that the entire team participates, and becoming customer centric and being design led. Innovation and ideation focus. So this means that instead of operating in an order taking mode, you become part of the ideation process itself, and innovate and present your ideas to customer. Pivoting with new business models. So when you do all that, there is always an opportunity to pivot with new business models, which means that a bank or a healthcare organization or an insurance company, when they adopt, they may get an opportunity to pivot with a new business model altogether. That's where their digital business kicks in. And what it is not. So it is not about becoming an ISV or a product engineering business and trying to replace or compete with some product company. And also, this is not about mimicking product companies, telling, oh, Facebook is making n number of releases per hour, so let us also make it. So it is not about that. It's about becoming truly customer centric, design led, embracing a cultural shift, becoming innovative, ideation focused, and pivoting with new business models. So with that note, let us branch into the next segment of this session. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this section is about transforming consumption and engineering landscapes, right? So over the past decades, these two have changed. So let us look at what those are. Next slide, please. So by consumption landscape, I mean the way IT applications are consumed in our organization, right? The way the IT applications are produced and consumed in an organization. In traditional IT, maybe you go back by 10 years or go back by 15 or 20 years, IT users and user expectations were different. Workforce and roles were different. Organizational basis was different, and focus areas were different. So that's what this slide talks about. Now in digital world, it's more about serving applications not only to your internal employees but also to vendors, partners, and the entire world as a whole. Right? Your systems and applications. Eventually, some of those may have endless number of users and have performance and scalability requirements. So you need to build holistic expectations, build IT products and services. And workforce roles have also changed. Now it is more about technical excellence, full stack, agile mindset, product centric roles, and so on. Organizational basis has changed. We talk about or we implement biz DevOps, and also we have IT becoming a strategic partner of the business, right? When the IT breaks, business breaks, because IT is the revenue generating arm of businesses. And focus areas have changed. Focus areas are more like how do we satisfy the customer, how do we become customer centric, and enable the business and help the business pivot further to invent new business models. So that is how consumption landscape has changed. So next slide is about how engineering landscape has changed over the past 15, 20 years, right? This is a very good synergy. So with the consumption landscape changing, engineering landscape also has helped us adopt the change, because nowadays it's not about monolithic systems, it's about microservices, serverless, distributed, and so on. A technology stack has changed. It's more about open source frameworks and all that. Life cycle and themes have changed. It's about agile, extreme programming, DevOps, and two pizza team, test driven development, and high performing agile teams called pods. And infrastructure and automation has also changed. That landscape now is about hybrid cloud, continuous integration, continuous delivery, and all that. So with that note, we see that as these two are playing very well to help us move towards product centricity. Next slide, please. So now let's understand what are the key factors, right? Okay, now we understood that yes, this is product centricity, this is not. This is why it is required, and how our consumption landscape has changed over the past decades, and how engineering landscape has changed, how that is playing in favor of us. And key factors of product centricity. Typically, we know that applications have to be as good as commercial products in all dimensions, because your vendors, your partners, your external users, for example, you take a airline's website, it has to have top-notch reservation features, right? Booking and cancellation features. Same holds good for hotels, same holds good for banks, insurance companies, mutual funds, and so on. So availability, usability, performance, scalability, all these are very, very important. So we need to have laser sharp focus in enriching user experience. So with that note, next slide, please. So we have listed a set of key factors, right? 6 factors. So sometimes we know in limited groups, we may think that product centricity is about adopting agile and DevOps. So that is one aspect of it, right? Number one, life cycle processes or way of working. And number two is requirement engineering itself, right? How do we go beyond agile and DevOps way of working to focus on discovery, gathering insights, personas, customer journey mapping, etc. And customer experience itself, right? How do we focus on customer experience through design thinking, obtaining customer feedback, and continuous improvement, and engineering rigor or engineering practices where we truly adopt from first sprint all these practices, the practices that are applicable and valuable. And then coming to people, more about building a lean startup culture. Lean startup culture is not just for startups, it's applicable for even large organizations. We can have small groups functioning as lean startups. and full stack engineers, product managers, engineering managers, and also having labs where people come together and feel that they're part of the ecosystem to invent and deliver cool products. And but finally, right, last but not the least, how do we budget for in a large IT organization when we go in a product centric way? Lean budgeting, taking a product line view so that there is a possibility of coming up with incremental budgeting, and there is a flexibility in moving from one product, moving money from one product to the other, and so on. So these are the key factors we need to understand. So that kind of brings us to the first segment, right? So let us move on to the next slide, where I have listed out. Okay, now tell me about what are the differences between a project-centric way of working and product-centric way of working. Key differences, right? Positioning of IT is different. IT is as a cost center in a project-centric organization. IT budget is allocated, and IT is seen as it's a backbone, it's a enabling function, and so on. It's not seen as a strategic function. Whereas when we become product centric, we develop a potential to transform IT into a service center or profit center. A very good example is, when a large healthcare player who has been in the industry for more than or close to 100 years felt the need to develop a remote healthcare product, right? So that through your mobile application, members can have access to healthcare. They can book appointments. They can get an appointment with the preferred group of doctors they are with, right? Even if you travel from a Gulf country or some other Asian country to a English-speaking region, you may know only the native language. As a member, you always have the facility to book an appointment with the doctor of group of doctors of your preference, so that you can talk to them in the native language. So this simple mobile app expanded into a platform itself, right? Now it's a healthcare platform, and now it has triggered a new business model, right? For example, this particular corporate is entering countries like India and other Asian countries in a subscription-based model, where they say for per family of say 4 members per month, there is a fixed fee, right? You install the app, you get unlimited number of consultations. And also through such applications, we have found that more than 70% of the appointments, we go with the first time consultation, and there is a perfect cure for the patient. There are no follow-ups, which is a very great thing, right? A lot of time saved, a lot of benefit to the overall the world, right? So people are not traveling in their car and emitting carbon. They're sitting at their home. They're able to connect with their doctors. And this is an example. This is our case study of a typical large healthcare company, how they transformed by becoming product centric and launched this in a subscription based model, right? So budgeting is more about a project to project and a project based organization, where in a product centric organization, product specific budget, right? Prioritize every quarter and make it flexible, so that the products with higher demand and higher strategic importance get better budgets. And release time, typically 3 to 12 months in project based organizations, because we talk about 2-speed or multi-speed organizations. Typically that becomes even more faster in a product centric organization. We look at short iterations or sprints, 1 to 4 weeks, and in every sprint, at least after the first release, we try to take software into production and deliver it. And team association, in a project based organization, team moves from project to project. So that is the truth, right? But in a product centric organization, teams stick to a product line and they gain deep expertise. So that itself is a great benefit and scope or opportunity for higher level of satisfaction to team members. And work prioritization, in typical project organization, you get feedback from the product owner when you operate in an agile model. Whereas in a product centric organization, there is an opportunity, because we involve end users, we have opportunity to get feedback from the end users and focus on speed to value, meaning we know what matters to them and deliver those first, and value alignment, right? A lot of collaboration happens between development, operations, business, and end users in a product-centric company, whereas it's not so in a project-centric model. So with that, let us move on to the next slide. I think that is about a systematic approach. We understood that progressive CIOs want their IT organizations to shift this way, right? They want to shift into a product-centric organization. And for this, we need a systematic approach or playbook, right? Where do we start? So this goal of this session is to kind of open the horizon and present it to you so that you can take it further and apply it in your organizations or wherever you are, right? And see how that pans out. Let us go to the next slide. First is, of course, setting up a CXO level steering committee, right? This is very, very important because this cannot be a bottoms up initiative. It has to be top down, where we need strong support and encouragement from steering committee, which is at CXO level, where they take this as a strategic thing, right? Becoming product centric has to become a strategic thing, which many progressive CIOs are doing already. Next slide. So this is typically about identifying who are the success critical stakeholders, ensuring transparency, and allow the culture to drive the strategy, because culture can sometimes kind of hide the overall strategy and make it fail. So we have to allow the culture to drive the strategies. Everybody feels part of it and makes it successful. Next is about, next slide please. Next is about reimagining the organizational structure, because the current structure of having technology silos or having a big IT department will not work. We need to think through the organizational structure by identifying business capabilities, product lines, and products. So this is a very important exercise. There are two types of capabilities listed in the slide. One is customer facing capabilities. For example, for a retail banking itself is a customer facing capability, and doing retail banking in an electronic way, right, through internet is a capability. Operational capabilities are very internal facing, needed to operate and deliver value to other stakeholders. The way you govern, the way you manage your legalities, the way you manage your employees, and so on and so forth. So we have to look at both customer facing capabilities and operational capabilities, and based on that we have to align the organization. This is a very interesting topic. I would encourage you to read about business or how to identify capabilities. A lot of good information available on the internet. Next slide please. So typically we have to ask, when we identify capabilities, you have to ask these questions. Say, what is the context or purpose of this particular capability? What information is consumed or produced? Who are all involved? And how does this capability work and provide services? And what technologies are required to support this capability? And what are the risks, constraints, and dependencies? And what is the ROI? So typically customer-facing capabilities are the key competencies of an organization, right? An organization stands for those capabilities and earns revenue and satisfies customers because of those capabilities. So when you list capabilities and answer these questions, you'll be able to prioritize and filter and shortlist the capabilities. Next. For example, right, you identify business capabilities, prioritize, map to product lines, and identify products, right? You take for a retail company, you take e-commerce as a capability, right? You say, okay, it is priority one, because now it is a lockdown situation and customers are going to use e-commerce more than going to physical stores. And the product line, you have to map it to a product line where you say it is an e-commerce platform or a product line. Then underneath you have multiple products, right? Merchandising, catalog management, marketing, order management, fulfillment, customer management, and so on. So this is how you perform capabilities to product lines, to product mapping. And business capabilities are very key to competitive advantage and deliver strategic goals, right? Next slide. And how can we deliver customer facing and operational capabilities in a product centric way? Now the question is, how can we do that, right? We have identified these capabilities. How can we deliver it in a product centric way through three key dimensions: people, process, and platform? Next slide. Because these three things, people, process, platform, are very important now, right? We have to see what are the plays required for under each of these dimensions. Typically organizational change management when it comes to people, process and tools about agile and DevOps transformation and related things, and platforms about how do we modernize, right? How do we transform or bring in technology transformation? And underneath these three levers, we have 5 places, so that makes it 15. And I already presented you 2 plays, right? First was to form a steering committee at CXO level, and the second one is to look at the organizational structure, identify capabilities, products, and product lines. So put together, we get 17 plays, right? So we all are listed in this deck. Next one. So now this is a crisp view of how the plays are, right? For example, I'll tell you, we talked about how we reimagine organizational structure and how we look at people, right? For example, you have to strengthen the business IT partnership, very, very important. That is, Agile started in a way, and the premise itself was to increase collaboration among business and IT partnership. Product ownership, or the role of a product owner, was always a big challenge, and it was a weak link. We know that. So now this is more about how do we strengthen that? How do we strengthen the partnership, bring them on the table, and how do we make them participate more, and identify and define and initiate product centric roles, right? And align IT org structures so that we get a smooth operating model and start enablement programs and build a product centric culture. So in this segment, right, if you Nisha, if you can click on that people arrow, right, or go to the next slide. Yeah. So strengthen the IT business partnership, right? The business IT partnership is very, very important. It is more about, it is not only about prioritizing user stories and backlog management, right? It is about delivering value for the funds that are invested, and shifting funding from project level to capability or product line level, and also positioning IT from an enablement function to a co-sponsored strategic function. So this is where this play differs from a typical agile transformation approach we take, right? And next slide, please. So these are product centric roles, right? We have to look at roles like capability leader, product manager, engineering manager, full stack engineer, UX designer, DevOps architect, and so on. Some of these plays may be already part of some of the agile transformation initiative, but some of these are very, very unique to taking a product centric approach. Next is about aligning the IT org structure. As I told you, how do we like have capability pillars, right? Operational capability leader for each pillar, and then product line directors and product manager underneath, so that they have clear goals and they deliver value in terms of strengthening the capability of the business and make the customers happy. So this resolves a lot of conflicts. This makes the organizational structure very, very clear. And in many organizations, this must be existing. But where it does not exist is, even though businesses are aligned this way, when it comes to IT, it becomes a big entity, right? There is a big confusion. IT continues to operate as a project-based organization, and some business capabilities are not valued or ignored or prioritized in the right way. It becomes a late thinking. So a structure like this helps. Next one. Next one is about running enablement programs to enable these new roles in order to bring in product-centric culture. Next slide, please. It's about establishing and nurturing communities of practice. So this is where we break the strong hierarchical structure and build communities of practice to bring in the sense of belongingness, a high-touch environment, and high level of collaboration, problem solving, innovation, and so on. Now, if you may click on that arrow at the bottom of the slide, Nisha. So now we looked at people as a dimension. Processes must be very, very straightforward to many of you because it's about strengthening agile DevOps adoption or transformation. So if you can see, the entire transformation piece sits as number one under pillar 3, right, under processes, and bringing in lean startup principles so that the business acumen comes in play, customer orientation comes in play. The embrace lean product centric budgeting. So by this we mean that you start budgeting product wise and have flexibility so that you meet every quarter, look at which products are performing well, what kind of feedback we are receiving from customer. You're able to allocate budget. You're redefining the budget from product line to product line, and promote engineering excellence and adopt supportive tools. So this is to kind of punch on the number one, right? Agile and DevOps transformation. It is not just people-based celebrations and ceremonies. It's more about engineering excellence and adopting successive tools so that people at all levels become true software engineering professionals and value customer centricity, right? Product centricity is one thing, but when you mix product centricity with customer centricity, you bring more value to your customer and you are able to deliver it. And finally, if you look at the third pillar, platform, right, where we talk about embracing cloud engineering, build modern infrastructure and capabilities. So what I would do is I'll go to Nisha, can you click on the link on process, that arrow on process? Yeah, I'll show you a couple of those. I think this is very straightforward. This is more well known for all of you. Next slide. It's about agile DevOps transformation. Yeah, lean startup principle. Even though lean startup is being talked about in many forums, at least over the past maybe 8 years or so, right, in many conferences, I would request all of you to read about it and start practicing in small groups, because it has some key principles like innovation accounting, prioritizing work and measuring progress, and also practicing validated learning, right, and run experiments on each of your vision. So these are very important when you operate like a product centric organization. Next slide is so next slide is about the lean product centric budgeting, right, where you start with a certain budget, you deliver the first minimum viable product, then second minimum viable product, and you understand how the customer is behaving and what kind of feedback and market demands you are seeing. Based on that, you either allocate additional budget or you don't allocate, right, you move forward. This is totally in contrast with allocating a big budget at the beginning of the year for a project and continuing with that whether the project succeeds or fails, and then retrospecting at the end of the year. So this is a big shift from the way we operate in traditional IT organizations. Next slide. 3.4, this is about promoting engineering excellence and adopting supportive tools right from day one, right? Practicing all engineering techniques, adopting tools, and building synergy across tools, right? Even though you may find that an agile project or a program has multiple tools functioning, but synergy across tools is missing. So this is about bringing all that together and along with automation and engineering governance so that it becomes top notch. Next one, please. 3.5. This is about valuing customer centricity, right? Always balance product centricity and customer centricity. So you don't become too passionate and keep on adding features to your product, and you become more and more product centric and miss customer centricity. Based on customer feedback, you build your product in such a way that there is always a fine balance, and it happens through continuous feedback, insights mining, and continuous improvement. Very, very important. So now you may click on that arrow at the bottom of the slide, and which takes us to platform. So we are under platform, we have all these listed, right? All these listed, 5 of them. It's about embracing cloud engineering, building a modern infrastructure, and adopting microservices architecture and cloud native technologies, which is very important. And also adopting a number 3, right, implementing a capability led application transformation. Very, very important. This is about when you modernize your applications, you go business capability wise. You take the top or most important business capability and go and transform those applications in a product centric manner. And for the fourth one is how DevOps architecture and enterprise architecture come together. How we align those two together. Why it is so important. And finally, invest in innovation labs and knowledge management. Could you please click on platform arrow now, number 4, the arrow on top? Yeah. So these are the place, right? Embracing cloud engineering and building a modern infrastructure, because that is, cloud is becoming a de facto standard, and now almost all products are being built on cloud. We need to value that. Next slide. And 4.2 is about microservices, adopting microservices architecture with care, because I know many organizations went in a big way in writing anything and everything as microservices, and it becomes a big overhead when it comes to governing all microservices, right? Having the right architecture and design and adopting microservices in the right place, and also cloud native development has become a de facto standard for designing, developing web and mobile apps. Very important play. And next one, please. 4.3 is about capability-led application transformation, right? So do not just go and transform applications the way you want to. Go capability-wise so that you get an opportunity to deliver ROI in a fast pace. Take the topmost business capability first, and then start modernizing the applications in a product-centric way, so that you get not only a set of modernized applications or a value stream that is modernized, you may also pivot and get some new business ideas to create new channels of revenue for the customer. And next one is about aligning enterprise DevOps and enterprise architecture, because these two are in many big organizations, two different groups. Enterprise architecture group is a big group, because they manage all mainframe, traditional web, and emerging cloud. And DevOps group is different, so it's good to bring both of their thought process and frameworks in alignment, so that there are no gaps. Very important. Next one is about next slide, please. So this is about investing in innovation labs and knowledge management. This is important because having a lab infrastructure is a must to run experiments, is a must to innovate, and also investing in managing that knowledge for a broader adoption or scaling across the organization is very important. So these two cannot live without the other, right? So investing in innovation labs and knowledge management goes a long way and helps us build a very vibrant product centric culture. So with that note, let us move to the next slide. I just want to tell you that this is available for you. This session is available for you to go through again. And also there is a link in this, in one of the slides, I think the overall play slides, right, which we are switching back and forth. That points to a white paper that I authored a couple of years ago. It is a PDF paper which you can download it and read through it, which will have a lot more details, and it will help you kind of relearn or kind of retain whatever you heard during these 40 minutes. And I'll tell you a couple of interesting, right? I told you about a healthcare customer. I have had experience with a large banking customer also, who came up with that first play, right? A steering committee at a CXO level steering committee, and a mandate that is, we want to become a technology based company or a product centric company. And that helped us transform many of their product lines one after the other into a product centric organization and deliver a very good impact at the end. I've been with customers from airlines industries, with retail industries, and they're all very passionate about adopting this, right? Adopting these plays and moving forward, right, with this model. And next slide. Typically, when we talk about this, the question that comes is, hey, when you work with customers, when you bring in this change, what are the top 5 success factors, right? And some of our this is our broader observations, right, across multiple customers, multiple engagements. The first one is executive sponsorship, right? You need unwavering executive commitment. It is not just signing a paper or signing a budget. It's more about being there, being available, and never give up attitude. I think I joined the last session, the last 10 minutes. This came up, right? Never give up means failure is part of the journey. Never give up even if you fail, right? Find way to succeed and allow failure, right? Fail early, fail fast. That's what we say. Then top-down portfolio transformation, which is typically about it is okay to identify one pilot project, run and celebrate and feel proud of, right? You distribute awards, you recognize them, and you put big photos and banners all over the hallway. That's all fine. But taking the top-down portfolio transformation view helps. You start from the most important portfolio and become product focused and measure and see how the impact is. And also enterprise wide role development plan. So this is very important, right? This may appear to be a part of OCM plan, but it's a very important thing. It involves a lot of people, their career, uh, their safety, right? Psychological safety, and and a comprehensive OCM plan where we institute change agents, we find projects that can succeed, influencers, decision makers, and encourage risk taking, and go forward, right? And also workforce enablement is more about, in addition to defining roles and changing roles, we have to enable workforce by uh, building new capabilities, building T-shaped teams. So this is workforce enablement is not limited to running classroom sessions or running lab sessions. It's also about making them perform and rewarding them and make them learn on the job and succeed. So these are the top success factors we have come across in many of our projects. So with that note, I would wait. Any questions I can take? We can go to the next slide. Um, yeah, a quick summary. We talked about all this, right? Why product centricity is critical. It is no longer a buzzword. It is happening. It has already entered the. It is not knocking the doors. It has already entered the doors. We talked about how consumption and engineering landscape has changed. So we cannot have anyone who thinks whether it is really happening or not. These are all evidences, right? And these are key factors, so that we don't have a partial understanding of the big elephant. We understand all aspects, and we also looked at what are the steps we need to take this journey forward, and with some real life examples. Thank you very much. Now let me hand it over to Prashant.
Thank you, Raja. Your playbook is very, very interesting, and I think we will need some time to digest that. Looks like a wonderful bonus for all the IT people here to learn from your experience and take it further. So far, we have very few questions. One of them is from RC Goel, sir, and he's also added one comment on beyond that. So I'll read both of them together.
Mhm.
Are we talking about organizations providing IT solutions? Then can it be bespoke or product business? He has clarified his point further.
Mhm.
Product centric in which scenario? If product is business, then it is obvious. But if it's bespoke, then we may handle each application as product. Then retaining team for each bespoke application.
Mhm.
So that is his question.
Yeah, this the scope is for organizations which are running businesses, right? So like banks, insurance companies, retail firms, healthcare organizations, and whatnot, right? Oil and gas, utilities, right? And So these companies are being served by IT vendors, right, or consulting firms. So product centricity is being adopted by all our customers or vendors, right? Everyone in these different industries, and so predominantly this applies to them. So now the question is, why not software services companies? Yes, for us also it applies, and many IT services companies are also becoming product centric, right? Because our applications are not only used by our internal employees, our applications are used by the world, because sometimes we run hackathons, sometimes we open up open up certain applications to the external world, and also we strive to provide uh, very unparalleled employee experience, right, internally to our employees. So that is important. And uh, in terms of bespoke product versus others, it is more about how we look at the business capabilities and strategies, right? So that is where the capability view plays a role. So now a business exists because of its business capabilities, right? A bank exists because of the top 2 or 3 business capabilities, and how we become product centric in that aspect. And while doing so, if there is a way to invent a cool digital bespoke product, right? The example I told you, right? Like a virtual healthcare product which started adopting a subscription based model, that is possible, right? That is more about go for a bespoke when there's an opportunity to leverage a digital channel of revenue and go after it, right? That is going to help you win in the digital economy, right? So thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Goel sir. Thank you, Raja. I have one question here.
Yeah.
This I am glad you wrote this white paper because I see some alignment. You're also from IT services background like me. Had this white paper been written by a captive person, maybe I had a different mindset approach to that. From my delivery days, I've seen when I'm supporting my, let's say, life insurance customer, and we talk of projects those days. Team members and the delivery managers themselves want rotation plan. And if I'm supporting, let's say, ICICI Bank, the
Mhm.
hypothetical name, right? And after 18 months, I'm on the bench, and now I go to, let's say, a railways project.
Mhm.
My management gets upset with me, my customer gets upset with me, and then the product, all the knowledge goes out. So how are you seeing that when you said that IT company are also aligning this today? How do you manage this retention plan, the knowledge management, the getting the people to be motivated to continue on the same domain? Because youngsters and managers also want to learn more domains: insurance, banking, stock market, energy, and grow up the
Mhm.
value chain.
See, a very good example is this white paper itself, right? I'm like a writer who moves from one white paper to other, and I have written some recent papers also, and I have been running sessions on this again and again and again, right? Because I see tangible outcomes. I'm able to create that vision and so on. So taking it back to your question, right? The direct answer is, in the erstwhile world, probably teams were not able to relate themselves with the overall vision of the project and what happens after they deliver, right? They see only the tip of the iceberg. They do not see what kind of ROI, what kind of benefits, what kind of customer delight they're creating with the product. So that is where the stickiness improves. And again, when we have a large ecosystem, right, when you have a large account with 500, 600 team members and running across multiple capabilities and product lines, there's always an opportunity to move within, right, for some time, at least for 2 years, 3 years, within that ecosystem and see some change of work. That also creates a lot of cross pollination. It's beneficial to us as well as the customer, and that is an enriching experience, right? That is an immersive experience where an engineer gets by creating a difference and delighting the customer, understanding the benefits of the project, and moves from one level to the other, right? Probably someone starts as a full stack engineer, becomes a digital architect. By the time she feels that as it is now time to move from a healthcare product line into a banking product line. So that is a very good differentiation we are bringing to the current workforce in the current world.
So thank you, Raja. Understanding the vision and what they contributed will build the stickiness is the takeaway. I summarize this. We have got a
Thank you.
question from Priyank Pathak. What is the difference between human-centric and product-centric organization? As we hear a lot, build human-centric and intuitive products is the same as per assumption?
See, there is a difference, right? Human centricity is about understanding the human needs, understanding the journey of the customer, understanding the edge requirements, right, and creating a holistic product. And product centricity is about going beyond delivering those functionalities by building the right engineering backbone, so that you get the right performance, scalability, maintainability, and all such factors, so that it increases the ROI, right? The total cost of ownership of the product, right? In terms of that. So it is more of both are required. Human centricity is required to deliver the right product, and product centricity is required to deliver it right. So to build it right and deliver it right. When both come together, that is where the products become like a real viral product. So where customers really love it and continue. They become so engaging that day in and day out, customers look for that product, such products.
Thank you, Priyank, for that good question. Thank you, Raja. We are just about time here. So I'd like to thank Raja Bhavani once again for his time today. And I thank the audience for joining us and attending the session. Hope the session was as informational and interesting as it was to me, to you. And looking forward to in the next event. Thank you, everybody.